All of those little things melt in the mountains in my mind. I just can't buy, saw you say bye, wanna stay by.
ISU wins in an incredible spray down, incredible series.
Pistol whip, he's already planting. What is that? Oh, but the vertical position will be able to take one.
When I'm back on the climb, you're only with me in the back of my mind now. It's a cycle, it's a path I can't find. Sisyphus, premise is the rock. Good shot. Vulnerable, maybe it's my fate and it's all my fault, and I know.
Ooh, Kirito's also finding a kill. Kirito's on a double kill. There's one man left. Can the Legends do it? The Legends do it. They take the game. And my prediction's right. I want to say it again. Say it again for chat. Say it again for
Your
chat.
prediction was right, my bad.
Yeah.
And now this menace is pushing down blue stairs, showing no signs of stopping. What Nectar pick? Oh my gosh! What the heck, Servant? How did he get away with that? 3 won't be able to take one. Takes 2! Double kill. Now for a 1v1. The swing comes in, tries to go for a pre-fire, and the prone shot to take pencil.
Stay away from the drop though, so I don't. They only love me when I'm back on the climb. You're only with me in the back of my mind now. It's a cycle, it's a path I can't find. Sisyphus, premise is the rock. You think that you know me good? You think that you
And
know
they
me?
are already on
Always
fire.
advance. Say how I fail, you know I stand. Raising the bar, I gotta expand. Top of the charts, I'm setting up camp. Pounding my stakes, I put on my tent. Shoot for the stars, they fall in my head. Stick to my guns, I don't even flinch. Can push all you want, ain't moving an inch. I rarely miss, you know I'm relentless. Ain't got a choice, no way to prevent it. Just who I am, and I don't regret it. See what I want, and then I go get it. Follow my gut, I'm happy I did it. Beat all the odds.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another great week of Midwest R6. I am once again here. Took a little bit of a break, got a little sick. It's okay, we're over now. Ace of Toronto right here with you alongside one of my good buddies, other way around, Piercing. Piercing, how are you tonight, and are you looking forward to this monumental matchup?
Oh, looking forward to it is putting it lightly. I mean, I couldn't be more ecstatic to be here. I mean, we're talking an absolute burner tonight. And as far as how I'm doing, it was kind of 50-50 until I came here to see everyone out for tonight. So now it went from kind of a 3 to 5 to now just a 10 out of 10. So yeah, I'm ready for anything.
Hey man, you are ready, I'm ready, we're all ready, but first, got to run through the pre-show a little bit. Let's take a look at who we will be casting tonight. Of course, it will be Columbia College versus the one and only Akron Esports. Let's take a look at Columbia really quickly here. Columbia has Phil, Nubs, Soul, Bless, and Ghostly. Player average rank being 150 and the record being 5-1. Piercing, does anything stand out here to you on the Columbia side specifically?
Honestly, just their killer record. I mean, this is exactly what I would expect from Columbia College. I mean, on ping, if you look at their power rankings, they are in 6th place, though they did have a bit of a drop with other leagues, but they still are holding up a killer standing as far as Division 1 here in Midwest R6 goes. So, I mean, yes, we know Akron's the top dog, but I really do think that with a record like that, Columbia is going to be putting up one heck of a fight, and we'll go into that more why in just a bit.
Speaking of putting up a fight, let's check out the player over time for Columbia, who has been putting up the most fight. It has been Phil. Now, one thing you might need to know, dear viewer, is that Columbia College did not participate in Midwest R6 last season. So the current season stats is all you have on them unless you have been following them throughout other leagues. Looking at the SPR and the KDR, they're both really good. I would say the SVR is leaves a little to be desired, but either way, anything specific jumping out at you here about Phil, Pearson?
Honestly, I would say the most obvious, which is, the SPR being above 50 points, which is what I'm always looking for, as well as the KDR at 1.51. He might not last all the way to the very end, but clearly that's the entry fragger there. And as long as you're getting at least one, maybe even a little bit more out of those exchanges, then honestly, who cares about that survival rating? That doesn't really become as relevant. As long as that death, something big comes out of it, which in this case is 1, maybe 2 plus space. Yeah, high value, allows the rest of your setup makers and your executioners to do what needs to be done.
I mean, you've got a great point when saying it like that. Phil, definitely a force to be reckoned with. taking a broader look at the team now, let's take a look at what Columbia had to say going into this match. Let's take a look at their quote here. All the respect to Akron for qualifying for CL and bringing attention to Collegiate. Let's watch the Titans of Collegiate ball out, says Ghostly, someone that you cannot put to the wayside. Yes, Akron have been completely undefeated here in Midwest. Their only loss coming to Utah over in Collegiate R6. And yeah, they swept through Challenger League, or they qualified Challenger League, and they swept through their opponents there. Pros, by the way, or at least trying to be pros. And yeah, I mean, all due respect to them, says Ghostly. Titans of Collegiate is very true, considering they are practically, not 100%, but practically the 1 and 2 matchup at this point. Taking a look now at the roster that has brought the most attention to Collegiate over the past Lord knows how long, it's Akron Esports, ladies and gentlemen. Zosa, Jet, Plexos, Jobu, and Space, the usual suspects. They're 6-0 here in Midwest. Ever since qualifying for Challenger League, they haven't dropped a match here in Midwest. They've only dropped one literally anywhere else. And yeah, this is the exact same team. Player average rank being 60. I mean, they are the top dogs, Piercing.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much more that I can say that everyone else hasn't already said. I mean, the fact that they've done so much in getting to CL quals is already mind-blowing to me. I really would have never seen it coming that a collegiate team would go so far. And to see what all Akron has done, they truly have been the pedestal for what it means to be collegiate at the upper echelons. So, I mean, yeah, honestly, just kind of, preaching to the choir, I guess you could say there.
Absolutely insane numbers being brought out by this exact roster everywhere they go. But let's take a look at the player over time. Let's see which specific player has done so well here in Midwest so far. It's been Zosa.
Wow.
Look at these stats. Man, it is literally something to behold, Piercing.
Holy moly, you're telling me, yeah, a 63-point SPR, 2.81 KDR, and then that alone would already be extremely impressive. But the fact that Zosa is also able to maintain a 0.59 SRV, to be able to pull those kind of numbers and still, for most rounds, make it all the way to the end, that is a level of dangerous that you rarely, if ever, see. So, I mean, that's truly remarkable. I mean, that pretty much just makes an unstoppable force, which is honestly just amazing to see, truly. I could only wish for some of the top frags in other teams for them to be able to do the same. It's remarkable.
I mean, mind-blowing to say the least. Team chemistry off the charts. As we know, this roster has been everywhere and done everything. Let's take a look at the quote that Akron had coming into this match against CC here tonight. It's going to be real funny when we lose the rest of our collegiate game, says Zosa, the man that we just looked at. Yeah, I mean, with me on the desk, fun fact for the fair viewers, me and one of my great friends, Chaz the Spasmanian Devil, shout out to him, were gracious enough to be on the desk for the loss against Utah, the only loss they have suffered at the hands of literally anyone so far throughout this season. And yeah, Zosa he's trying to make a little fun of it, poke a little fun of it. I did hear from Plexos earlier that it could be an ace curse. It literally could be the ace curse. Anything's possible. You never really know. But let's take a quick look at the player head to head. How do these two specific players match up against one another for their respective teams? It's Phil, who we've already seen, versus Zosa, who we've already seen in their specific head-to-head statistics. Wow. Okay. League rank is 6 for Zosa. Like what?
Yeah, pretty baller numbers, to be 100% honest. I mean, as far as me casting, it's the first player that I've seen with a single-digit league rank, which is already a terrifying number to see in of itself. But I mean, when you look at this stark difference across the board, Sosa's just on another level. And so the thing that I have to question then is, how do the other players, what do their stats also look like? Because if there's a big dramatic difference, then as cheeky as it sounds, you know, Columbia College is just gonna have to target Sosa. There's no way. You cannot let a player get over half your entire team down before they go down themselves. That is unbelievably dangerous. That's not even just numbers anymore. It's just looking bluntly at what that does to a composition, that kind of guaranteed impact. That is lethal, right? That's something that is not just that's just a good player. You have to actually look at this as a strategic threat. That's where Zosa is, elevated from just a player to a target. And I would say that I expect Columbia College to try to get rid of Sosa every single round as much as possible if there's a major stat line deviation between Sosa and the rest of the Akron roster.
Well, speaking of the rest of the Akron roster, you can't count Phil out either, or Columbia College. Let's take a look at the team comparison. Let's see how these team numbers stack up against each other. League position being first and second, zero surprise whatsoever. Akron has played a lesser amount of rounds than Columbia College. They've been struggling a little bit to get there, played a few map threes. Akron has literally just dominated, as far as I've been able to tell. Team KDR averages 2, which is absolutely insane. Team rank average being 42 for Akron versus 94 for Columbia. So 42 is definitely not a number that you would, possibly want to, be if you were Akron. But when it comes to the Midwest bet line, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you get your Midwest R6 bets in for tonight. You're probably going to be wanting to bet on Akron, but I personally did bet on a team that I'm not going to tell you about because that would probably, bring in the ace curse. They'd all the guys on Akron get really mad at me for that. But I will say, I really do feel like this is going to be a lot closer than the statistics may say, like just how close they are between league position being first and second. Look at everything else. Akron clearly has the advantage, right? But see, last time I was on the desk for an Akron game, that's exactly what didn't happen. So we'll have to see what ends up happening. Let's check out the lobby kill leaders, though. Who are the top guys coming into this? Zosa has 101, tied with Phil, and Ghostly has 80. Very quickly, Piercing. Why isn't this all three Akron?
Honestly, I kind of talked about this before, and this was what I was speculating, and it seems like there's a possibility that very much is true. It's discrepancy, right? You have Columbia College, who is more tighter knit in team play, so not as substantial of stat line differentials, but Zosa is just in a whole league of his own. So what this gives us a little bit of information on is that Zosa is really a big outlier, and Phil, he's more in line with his overall team's performance, which does create an isolation point. So I would say that's probably the biggest takeaway out of this, honestly, is that as far as just raw kill potential, Columbia College really isn't that far behind from Akron, if at all, considering your top two or second and third is Phil and Ghostly with 101 and 80. I think that's significant, along with the fact that Phil has the same amount of kills on the board as Zosa.
I mean, you've got a good point. When it comes to 1, 2, and 3, we've got them right here, Zosa, Phil, and Ghostly. But a number that we haven't yet gotten to, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to get into it right now. It's our Midwest Top 5, presented by Ubisoft. Not going to want
AV with that drip. I just saw it. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Let's fucking go, baby.
Oh my god, that's garage. Skip it. He's 20 feet.
I'm just gonna try to kill trick the rest.
Cannon window. Breaking cannon window.
coming up for you. It's on the stairs. Grabbing the rope.
Nice for him. Oh my god.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we hope that you enjoyed our Midwest Top 5 presented by Ubisoft. If you happen to notice, there was a Ghost League clip in there. You will be getting to see him shortly. Chalet being picked by Columbia College, who Ghostly plays for. Clubhouse being picked by Akron, and the decider, this is important, Piercing, is Cafe.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe that it wasn't even banned by Akron. I'm just shocked that it's even there in the first place. Doesn't matter where it is, just the fact that we're even seeing it. Because correct me if I'm mistaken, Ace, when Akron lost to Utah, one of the maps that they lost to in the big choke point was Cafe, right?
Best of one, I watched the entire thing. That's exactly what happened.
Wow. Yeah, so I mean that already is big. And so let's kind of lay out what the situation is as far as the map bans go. You have Chalet, 50-50. Clubhouse, a 50-50. Pretty much raw gunfight coordination. There's really no questions, if and or buts about it. Cafe, being one of the only maps that Akron has lost to, is going to be Columbia College's big point that they want to hold on to. They want to get there. All they got to do
get them there.
is win one map. So what you're going to see is a 50-50 situation for these first two maps, and Columbia College just has to get one, and their odds go up dramatically. But if they can't even get there, well, I mean, that's just it, you know?
Exactly. A lot of people are expecting, you know, easy night for Akron, but you know, and based on what they've been through recently, there's a pretty good chance it could be. But I expect Columbia to put up somewhat of a fight at the very least. Are we? Is the word that we are ready? Player to watch. You're correct. Player to watch here on Chalet. Did forget about that one. Sorry. Of course it would be Zosa, #1 in kills, tied with Phil, of course. SPR being 67.95, by the way. Yeah. Unbelievable. KD of 3.7. Survive is even at 0.6. Like, what?
Whole other caliber, man.
Yeah.
Whole other caliber.
Unbelievable. I mean, just these bare numbers alone, right? Like, oh, I don't even know what we're in for. We're ready, ladies and gentlemen. There is not a lot of yapping left to be done for us. I believe the blue side, Raven Shield, is Columbia. Is that correct or no? It is Columbia. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, you will be seeing Raven Shield, but of course, if you take a look right above it, it will be Columbia, of course, and then Akron being Rogue Spear. You can see all the names there clearly. Blackbeard and Blitz. What are we expecting? Blackbeard and Blitz. I'm thinking more of an Azami Valkyrie type band possibly here, but anything is possible.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see anything too spectacular here. I could definitely expect a Valkyrie ban, but then again, I don't think she's as strong on Chalet. I feel like that would be a bit of an over-exaggeration to ban an operator like her on this. I would think something a little bit more standard, but I just can't think off the top of my head who that would be. Okay, never mind. We are going to go with Valkyrie. I mean, you can't really blame Akron. It's still a safe pick and a good choice regardless, though. I will say I was expecting something a little bit more custom tailored as far as the op bans goes. Nothing so, you know, I wouldn't say generic, but I mean, that's the best word choice that I got, right? The default bans.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I said it best myself, sadly enough. Azami Valkyrie, just a very easy ban. Like it's basically default, in all honesty, for Chalet specifically. With the new ban system being implemented with
So excited for that.
CJX, things could definitely be different. It will also be one extra ban per team. So, anything's possible when that comes around. But as of right now, we're still stuck where we were. Blitz the Zombie being banned out by CC as the game is taking my ears out of my head. It is so loud. And then Valkyrie and Blackbeard, the Navy SEALs, Operation Dustline, both of them being taken out. Not every day that you see both operators from the same operation be taken out, but I mean, with how strong Valkyrie is on this map and how strong Blackbeard is in general, I mean, what else would you have expected, right?
I mean, those are pretty safe picks, and you can't really blame them for that. Shoot, I'd probably do the same if I was going against a whole different caliber of team, right? Because they're strong for a reason, and then putting them with demons, terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. But with that, it does look like we're going to be finally starting, and we do have a sense coming in from Seoul, which I'm not sure how to feel about that. I still feel sense is a bit on the weak side, but I do look forward to how they're going to use it. But of course, being on the first floor site, it is a good idea still to have any kind of smokes, which Akron doesn't have any wardens, so that is something to keep in mind, that they could push this a lot sooner than otherwise would be possible with such an operator in line.
Very true. Very true. I'd love to see how they end up taking this. It looks like it's going to be a big garage take from Phil. But of course, Plexos is ready for it. Plexos, a man that I've spoken to a lot over the past few days. He told me simply that Akron was locked. I mean, they're on a different level now ever since the loss to Utah. Still undefeated here in Midwest, of course. So, I mean, expect nothing less. Ghostly, though, getting his first with a Claymore onto Jet. How huge is that? Plexos gets hurt by Phil as well. He knows he's in big garage now. It's a little bit, it's kind of flipped on its head a little bit now for Plexos, who needs to rotate out of there.
Yeah, at least Flexios is able to keep their head on a swivel getting out of there, because that was definitely not the greatest situation. Nub's going to take another. That's going to be Jobu down. And this is a rough start. Now already 5v2. Holy moly, Nubs going down, taking another. That's a triple kill for Nubs. Going on a tear with Blessing another. And Columbia College picks up a flawless round. I wish we could have gotten better eyes on that, but it happened so fast. And wow, Columbia College picking first round on attack against Akron? Yeah, okay, they're not playing around. This is going to be nutty.
I mean, when you look at it, we talk so heavy about Akron, right? Akron put Collegiate on the map. Akron did this, Akron did that. The best team ever in Akron, in Collegiate, right? At the exact same time, with the serious amount of eyes that have been on Akron throughout this entire season, even last season when they went all the way to the end in Collegiate and lost, that the eyes have been on them ever since, right? That eyes have always been on them with how good this roster is. And like, plain and simple, other teams catch wind of stuff like this. I'm not going to say that Utah won, in the one win that they did end up having against them, strictly because of VOD review and outgunning. That's not the entirety of it, but you have to believe that Columbia College specifically here took a little bit of a page out of Utah and any other team who has done good against Akron, and just at least watched the footage, right? They have to know at least where some, not very many, but some of Akron's very few weaknesses actually are, and they could have just exploited them right then without us really even knowing it. But I mean, you saw it right there, plain bold letters, 5-0 flawless round, Columbia up 1-0 against the Titan of Akron. I mean, it's not at all what you expected right now.
No, not even close to what I was expecting whatsoever for at least a round one. But moving on to round two, what I'm kind of interested in seeing is if Akron Esports chooses to kind of scale back, because they were quite heavily in Columbia College's face last round, and I do wonder if they're going to try to slow that down a little bit. But that blue hall hold is still going to be vitally important, though a little bit of variation in the take. You don't have someone already on the blue stairs, instead holding towards office side on that same blue hall hold. Not a lot of presence over by office side quite yet coming in from Columbia College, so this hold can do Akron quite well until that hop-in starts. And that's where I want to see how this holds up with not so much utility to hold off anything from Blue Hall, though you still have the deployable shield towards Balcony, Library Balk, which
Top
will
mezza
help
too. Look at
with
that.
denying that push. But how effective it'll be is what I'm wondering. You've also got space on Warden as well, so those smokes won't be as effective. Space going to be able to take Ghostly down, so that's already a much better start going out for Akron.
Ghostly was big for the opening pick and setting up that flawless round that we saw. Shield going down now in bar. They still have to worry about top mezza, and he also has to worry about Jobu, who's just in the basement. Nobody really expected that. The droning definitely wasn't the best from CC right then. Plexos ends up taking Nubs out. It's 2-5 now. It's looking like the Akron of old. Soul going to take one Soul with him. It's going to be Jet. This round could be more. It's up to Soul and Phil to take down the star-studded Akron lineup, who seem to have gotten their footing a little bit, even with Jet off the board.
Yeah, it looks like they are starting to get a little bit of intel on what's going on in the first floor, but the numbers don't lie. They've lost vertical. They've lost any potential for hard breaching, though once you've gotten this far, it's hardly necessary anymore. And it does look like Akron Esports is pretty much all rounded out and kind of centered on site, which could be an opportunity for Columbia College to try to pick this apart. Does manage to catch Sosa from above, or from actually first floor. That's going to be Soul Phil taking another, and that's a triple kill towards main. This is a collapse towards Akron Esports. That's what I was talking about. Grouping up like that's been dangerous. They got the ping. Phil going to take space down despite it. And Columbia College, despite a 2v5, brings it to another round win. And yeah, there's the timeout. Can you blame them?
Immediate timeout from Akron. They needed it. They needed it. They're thinking, why are these kids playing so weird? And in all honesty, I would think of it as the other way around. Akron had that round, but instead of spreading out a little bit, and I'm not saying get off of site, I'm definitely nowhere near the exact side, of the page that Akron is. Just a guy who loves to yap about it, can't beat him, talk about him, it's fine. But at the end of the day, the grouping that you brought up, Piercing, they did not need to do that. They had a hatch right above them. Not to mention, a hole was shot through to move Zosa off that mirror and straight through that hole that had been shot through. If you hear the gun, you know the gun, right? That was very clearly the para. You had a pretty good idea they didn't have a Brava. You should have been ready for that fire to come. Fire came, pushed you right into him. That began the downfall. You had the hatch, then you had the stairs. It's just Akron is not moving like Akron right now. They're hurting. They're being grouped right now by CC. And CC is playing them like a fiddle. And it's working. I honestly can't believe what I'm saying.
Yeah, this is mind-boggling. And the other thing that I want to point out, which is so interesting, is if you notice how Rogue Spear's positioning, or Rogue Spear, what am I doing? That's the default team name. Akron Esports. How Akron Esports is playing right now, the way that they are positioning themselves, they don't really have that aggressive follow-up. One of the things that makes Akron so unbelievably dangerous is their ability to follow up on their defense. They have these power positions, and they're always got someone on their 6 to lay out a devastating blow or even a strong counteroffensive. But right now, that counteroffensive isn't there. Columbia College is seeing that and is ramping up the speed to break that down in such a way that Akron couldn't push back or counter if they even wanted to. This is something that I never could have anticipated, but that's just simply the facts of the matter, folks.
Sadly enough, it has been so far. You can say whatever you want about Akron, but CC are playing them right now. They're playing the right game. They're playing the winning game. And it's proven dividends. I mean, Akron has even had a lead at one point so far in, man count. And they threw it all away in the way that they were positioned and the way that they were being herded. So CC have proven, as of right now, that they're here to play. And it's very, very, very apparent. When it comes down to it, Akron is just such a important team for the league, but CC very clearly doesn't care about that. They're here to win. They're here to play. This is a number 1 and 2 matchup for a reason. You can say whatever you want about how Akron has been in Pro League, yada, 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 but at the end of the day, you don't usually see teams this good end up doing what they've been doing so far. And CC, are very clearly showing that they're somewhat on their level. Ghostly being taken out early again by Plexos, though. Plexos is now downed at the hands of Bless. 3-4 now, 3-3 tied back up. Nubs ends up taking the downed Plexos out. Bless has to watch out for any potential barbed wire or any potential swings, considering Nubs is not with him right now. He's not able to be his shield currently. So with the only low, like relatively low at least, member, low health on your team, you got to be a little bit more careful about him. Still has 2 Ash charges in pocket as well.
Yeah, this is still big control that Columbia College has established here. Being able to take 2 like that, 2 Nitros now off the board, though there's still 3 to deal with, which is quite terrifying considering Columbia College is looking to push through a massive funnel here. But I mean, that was a great push because Akron Esports was more kind of reacting there rather than being
there's
proactive.
one of them.
Yep, there's one of them. And that time they were definitely being proactive. Nubs kind of on his own, trying to get this plant off with only Phil to support from above. Though Nubs pulls out the pistol, takes one, though Jobu does get that refrag. And that's going to put Phil in a straining position as now has to rotate all the way down to basement, has done so, and has to deal with a nasty funnel here. You got one towards back of wine cellar. And that is going to be the big player to deal with. Phil does manage to break it up. Oh, but what a refrag coming in from Jobu. Perfectly coordinated. Take out the blue, but you still got the back wine player to put up with. Akron taking their first round.
I mean, and this is kind of what we expected coming out of the break, right? Like, they brought 5 Nitros. I want to say that one more time. They brought 5 Nitros in that round. They expected something along the lines of Monty or even a fuse shield, God forbid, right? A shield is still a shield in this current meta, in this current game that we're playing, and anything could have been possible. They expected it. They saw him on the cams, or, they figured it out due to the early drop by Plexos onto Ghost. And, they had it ready. They were in their bag. All of the Nitros, except for the ones that went down early, were used effectively. Along with, there wasn't any extra hurting. They knew that they both didn't need to play back wine. Now, of course, that did end in one of them going down before Jobu could get the refrag, but that's the same Akron that we were talking about. Refrags are very prominent within this team. Now, when it comes to CC, what they didn't do right, in my opinion, was they did not, and I'm not going to say that they needed to herd, so to speak, but they should have had at least one person with the Monty. They had the Capital on top, up there, shooting through the hatch, shooting fire and whatnot. That's not going to stop a Nitro Cell. At the end of the day, he wasn't firing in the right positions, and it probably would have been better to have someone down there with your Monty, even if it was a little bit of a choke, in my opinion. If you'd have had someone down there with your Monty, anything else could have happened. You could have at least helped prevent a swing. The Nitro did come out that could have killed you. You never know, but it definitely hurt the Monty enough to where it affected the round, and Akron ended up pulling that one through.
Now, moving on to this current round, we're now going back into dining, and we have pretty much the same composition that we saw from before coming out from Columbia College. Very aggressive peeking coming out from space, trying to possibly take one out from bathroom window, though not able to spot out Nubs here to try to take one. And so we see that they're going to go for a direct top-down approach here. Still one all the way into piano. And that, of course, is going to be Space looking to hold the line there. But we do see possibly a little bit of West main presence coming as well to try to pinch out this position. That top 4 is going to be massive here. Though Soul does go down. That's quite a big loss with Zoza on the Nitro to confirm that kill. So no smokes going out there. That's going to prove a bit of a problem, as well as Jobu taking Nubs down, bringing it 3 and 5. This top take has been quite rough for Columbia College thus far.
Nubs didn't necessarily have the best angle, so he just pre-fired. He didn't necessarily know exactly where Jobu was as well, and everything has been going wrong so far within this round for CC. They should have possibly thought about trying a different take, but at the end of the day, yeah, it's not what you expected at all. Phil goes down, Bless goes down, Jet in space, gunning per usual. It is up to Ghostly. He was not the first kill this time. He actually whiffed that. I don't know how he did it. He gets caught reloading. Flawless round for Akron. I feel like that timeout is exactly what they needed. And yeah, they're gunning. They're here. They're proving that they can hang with CC even after dropping the first 2 rounds. DC were playing those first 2 rounds better than they just played these last 2 rounds. I will give them that.
Yeah, it's just on the initial entry, Columbia College has just taken a lot of damage. That's kind of
Yep.
where a lot of struggles has came down. They just need to get a cleaner clear out of Akron Esports. I mean, after that, perform brilliantly. It's just getting there is starting to be a struggle point, and that's natural. That's going to happen, right? It's a smaller map, and some of these funnels can be really dangerous, especially when you've got so many crossfires between vertical and horizontal. It can make for a tough ask, but it's a tough ask that Columbia College is just going to have to push through. Though, keep in mind, they only need to win one more round, and they're on a 3-3 split, which is not something you can really complain about at all for a map like Chalet or Clubhouse, which is map 2, by the way.
You're right. If you have a little bit trouble seeing, I know I do, especially when I'm spectating. Clubhouse will be map 2, also if you missed it. Chalet is where we're at currently, and Cafe will be our decider. Cafe being a very, very important map in the history of Akron Esports as of right now. And yeah, when it comes to CC, we didn't see any of them on Midwest turf last season. It's all been what we've seen so far this season, and they're second place for a reason. They're proving they can hang with one of the best teams in collegiate history. I'll say it out loud. And, you know, CC are trying to make a point. You know, they're trying to prove their point here. We were talking pregame. I feel like CC has to take them to map 3. Even if Cafe has been heavily scrimmed by Akron, that is still where they took their only loss, be it in another league or not. At the end of the day, that's a very important map for Akron. Like Piercing said, surprised it didn't get banned out. But, yeah, we're going to have to see if we end up getting a chance to go to our decider. 2-2 right now, though, here on Chalet. It's our map 1 of this insane best of 3 that we've got here for you tonight, as Ghostly doing what he needs to do, clearing out any extra utility. Jet gets hurt, peeking a little bit there. But you do love to see it. Plexos sitting pretty. Top mezza. This is the most routine top mezza sit that you will ever see. You see every singular team put someone top mezza when you're in this specific site. Usually it ends up working out. Phil going to try to take one with him. Zosa, however, takes Soul out on the jump in. Jet does go down to Nubs, though. Swing in from space. Double kill from Bless, and it's 3-3 again.
Yeah, it seems that playing it a bit slower has paid off well for Columbia College. An even trade, 3 for 3, which is much better odds. Flashed out, pushing up the deployable shield. This is dicey waters, but Bless does take it. So does Ghostly. That's going to put it down 3-1. Columbia College looking amazing here after getting that successful setup. And now it's just a matter of dealing with that one last player, Jobu, who's above, but Ghostly's having none of it and calls it out.
Top blue sat Ghostly. He figured it out. He knew where he was coming from. He heard him. And just like that, it's back to being anyone's game. 3-2 now. Akron looking to hopefully make it 3-3. If not, 4-2. And then what, you know? CC proving more than just proving. But at the end of the day, they're still proving that they're here to play.
Certainly. And so now we move back onto basement, which we saw a Nitropalooza off of that when Columbia College was running a shield. And speaking of that shield, I have to say that was a great call to bring out that many nitros. A little bold to have 5 in hand, but I mean, think about it. What better site to bring a shield than on basement? I mean, it's funnel after funnel after funnel, whether it's wine, garage door, blue hall, or snowmobile. I mean, there's funnels all over the place. And being able to break that in any way, shape, or form, even if it means a shield, makes all the difference. Though, it does look like Nubs is going to be bringing out the Monty shield. Initially was on the line, goes for the swap there. So we are seeing much of the same from Akron Esports as far as their roster composition, but it does look like Columbia College is bringing Phil with a Capital, try to go for a smoke plant alongside a shield, bringing a little bit of extra firepower to help secure that plant, which we did see was quite a struggle in their last attempt on this site.
It was. They brought basically the same lineup, but you're going to have to think about a little bit of extra repositioning from Phil and even from Ghostly as well as they were down and Phil wasn't, but Ghostly was. And, you know, Phil was actually above, and he wasn't helping out Nubs as much as he probably could have. It was a very sticky situation last time they tried to attack this site, and it didn't end up working for them. So they have to be careful. They have to think outside of the box, re-strategize a little bit, I'd say. As Ghostly looking to get a routine take here to get the wall open. These pocket EMPs that he has, that Phil has, means that he will have to sit with Ghostly here. Wall does get open though. Snowmobile is open now. Ghostly 100% gonna sit here. And if it was me, Souls and Nubs are together. I'd say keep Phil with Ghostly, and you've got a pretty nice lineup going into this push here with 1:50 left.
Yeah, and the thing that's important for where Columbia College is in setup right now, other than pretty much connector and that nitro that Jobu still has in hand, you could absolutely see Nubs go for the walk-in here, though can't quite fit in there. Another ace goes out, but gets shot out, so that's gonna be a problem. Gonna have to open up that shield just a little bit in order to get in, but either way, there's still effectively a free walkaway opportunity. Just gotta watch out for the nitro. And with smoke still in hand, it's a 5v5, which is going to turn into an absolute bloodbath with the sheer amount of nitros in hand, which does kind of counter the smoke potential just a little bit. We're going to see a change of pace as Zoza goes for the walk up, able to take looks for another, gets a good amount of damage on a Bless, takes major damage to the self. Space also going to be pushing back as well. That's going to be from Kitchen to take 2. Phil and Bless now down for a triple kill, bringing it 2 and 5. All of a sudden, it looks much more dire for Columbia College. Just a whip attempt. Zoza not having any of that. Jet giving her 2 cents as well. His 2 cents. And that is going to be flawless for Akron.
Apologies for any coughing you may hear. I said it in the intro. I am still recovering from a little bit of a sickness. And all this talking is probably not helping me very much, so that's why I've got my trusty water bottle here. But yes, as I was attempting to say, I loved everything I saw out of Akron. It's 100% all about rebounding, learning from your mistakes. I feel like this is a very flexible Akron team. They know exactly how to fix what might not have went correctly for them in previous rounds. It is tied 3-3. It is looking very, very even. I mean, this is number 1 and 2, ladies and gentlemen. You can't get any better than this. But at the end of the day, the more flexible team will win. And I have not seen CC do too much that has shown that they can be different in any sort of way. They have stuck to their guns, and it has gotten them 3-3 against Akron Esports on Chalet, map 1 of their BO3 here, and the last regular season week of MWR6 this season. But at the end of the day, they're going to have to start doing what we didn't necessarily see too much of them do, and that's think a little bit more outside the box. You know, you can't try the same take twice that you failed on. That's exactly what they did. They did do a little bit of what I said in the way that they brought a little extra reinforcements with the Monty, and, you know, they paired up pretty well. But at the end of the day, Akron was ready for it because they had a pretty good idea what kind of take it was going to be anyway. So, say less now here at this point. 3-3 tied up here on map 1 of our BO3. And we're going to be seeing a little bit of the attacking side of Akron Esports, one of the best attacking teams I've ever seen in my life. And yeah, they're here to prove it, just like CC is here to prove that they can hang. So far they have, but I'm going to need to see something different out of them on this defense to prove it.
Yeah, this is going to be where things get really spicy. And for one, reacting is not going to be enough. What I am looking forward to is what will consist of Columbia College's proactiveness. That's what I'm kind of looking for. Can they pull counteroffenses? Right. That's what I'm primarily looking for. And we do see that the Flores drone does get shot out. Going to try to send another one. Space does take Nubs down. That's already 1 player off the board, and that's Warden too. So all those smokes coming in from Capital for that type of plant is going to be more than viable, as there's only 1 nitro on the board coming from Mozzie. That's going to be Bless with that in hand, though that can set it back a little bit if Akron plays this too slow. But that's the thing, if they play it too slow. And right now, that's not happening. Space getting a really nice shot close to the window and a triple kill. Hello, taking Bless down as well. That's going to be a great clear coming in from double window. And Jet to pick up another. That's going to be Soul down and Plant going down with little to no friction as Ghostly is off-site towards main lounge, and this retake is
Oh.
not happening. Zoza wiping it out for a flawless round.
Flawless. And here's one thing that I will say. The way that Plexos threw the first Flores drone in, you might think, oh, that was a missed play. The Flores drone got shot out so quickly. He just wanted to try to get the shield. He knew that there was no shield there whenever he broke open the window. He was doing that as a call out for his teammate who they didn't even know was behind them. He comes in, he swings them, he gets them both. That is team composition, team comprehension at its finest. You sacrifice something as minuscule as a Flores drone. You throw another one in there. You back Phil up. Phil is now going to have to try to retake. Phil is one of the best players on CC, by the way. Phil is now going to have to try to retake the top of blue stairs. Guess who just hopped in the window? It was Space. Space had hopped in the window. Space got the kill on Phil, and Phil didn't even know it. And then at the exact same time, you could say, oh, but he didn't see the Mozzie. He wasn't facing that direction. He heard him. He heard him. He knew he was there. He called it out. And that's how you win a swing like that. 9 times out of 10, any rank match you go watch as well, by the way, Mozzie's going to win that. Mozzie's going to win that, and it's going to be we had backup. We played this properly. Not when you're facing Akron Esports.
Well, do remember, at round 1, Columbia College was able to throw a flawless round against Akron. So, I mean, naturally and typically, well, actually, no, typically defense wins first. So this has been an upset for both sides, opening up with a flawless round on the attack. I mean, we're kind of just seeing Akron now finally throwing it right back at Columbia College to pick up the lead. But it is interesting to see kind of how the tempo at this point has been attacker-oriented rather than defense-oriented, which I was not expecting. I was thinking it would kind of trail towards the defense direction. A nice little bit of a wall banging from the barricade. Gets a good amount of damage coming out onto Bless, now down to about 50 HP. And it looks like so far there's only one player who is currently on site, and that's going to be Ghostly. Though those Fenriers will certainly help a lot to prevent a full-on push in, especially with no shield available, no Monty or the Fuse shield, as you mentioned before. But I mean, either way, you take that one player down, and you've got sight for free. You also got Space on the rappel, trying to hunt somebody down from Office or Piano. Doesn't really catch anybody, though, with not a lot of damage going down. Minute and 45 seconds. You still have a decent amount of players from Akron still holding outside, with Columbia College not really going for the blood at the moment, just kind of hanging tight. It seems like their gambit at the moment is going to be to try to stall the time down as much as humanly possible. And so far, minute and 30, this is the time that roamers can fall back with minimal consequences, and they're still holding on from above. Though trouble is brewing. Nubs takes a lot of damage. Soul going down as well. This is where the pressure mounts from Akron. Nubs goes down as well. This is looking troublesome. Now already 2 players out at the snap of a finger. Though Jet is also off the picture as well with a minute to go. And it does look like they managed to get that revive off, and that could be huge if not for this hold and this pinch. Space taking Nubs down, confirming that. Catching Bless as well, bringing it to a triple kill for Space. Now a 2v4 as they have full vertical control. But now this is where the walk down needs to happen. Ghostly holding a scary position right next to Hatch. Gets caught from there. Great hold coming in from Akron.
What? Is he going to ace?
He's getting a quad. Possibly. Very much a possibility as the pressure now mounts. Very bold swing coming in from Phil. Does manage to catch those.
Space ace!
It's an ace, ladies and gentlemen. It's an ace. Space on the rip and tear.
Space is not too short this time. What an ace that we're seeing, that we saw out of Space. And look at that. Timeout called by CC. They're down 5-3. He's 6 points. Space too short. Yeah, no, they did need that timeout, actually. I really do think that they did. They need to get their feet back underneath them, because they're letting Akron run away with it. I mean, they've literally been having their way ever since it was 3-3 split. Now it's 5-3. Very good chance you're going into this 6-3 with how Akron have been gunning. I mean, I've said it once and I'll say it again. The prowess that they show on attack is literally second to none. And, you're really going to have to recoup and, get your feet back under you if you're CC right now.
That is certainly a concern. And the other thing as well is keep in mind, every site is still available to Columbia College. So they don't have to go basement, but it does look like they're going to run it anyway. And they even have Clash on the board, Ghostly taking that pick. Now, I'm sure the community has their own thoughts on that. I'm not going to get into it. I still think she's great against shields, though it doesn't look like as of right now, Akron's running a shield at the moment. So that impact could potentially be mitigated just by the fact that there isn't a shield being utilized. But the thing that I'm more curious about, and this is where the tipping point begins, whether or not we kind of see a repeat of the first half, or if Akron actually starts to slip into winning territory for map 1. It's right here. Because so far, we haven't really seen Columbia College mount a counteroffense. It's pretty much just been hold steady, and then Akron sets up, and then once it's too late, that's when the pinch starts, and Columbia College is relatively helpless to respond to it with devastating effects, as we saw from the last 2 rounds. Though they were able to get a few picks from the round prior, but it just simply wasn't enough because of the veracity of that execution on the top floor. So the thing to keep an eye out for when it comes to Columbia College is, will they try to get more aggressive on Akron before they go for that kill, right? That execution moment. That's the thing to keep an eye out for. Because if they do that, then we can easily see this go into overtime. And it's still winnable outright with no overtime.
I mean, you really have to pay attention to how the defense of CC is broken down. Whether they end up winning or losing this round right here, it's going to rely pretty heavily on that Clash and that Two-Brow, I think. The Goyo, of course, is going to be a big factor, but I would say those are the top 2. And if Ghostly goes off the board early, it's 6-3, plain and simple. You put one of your best guns. I'm sorry. You put one of your best guns on Clash. There has to be a reason. There absolutely has to. I think they're doing a little bit, even if it's just a minuscule amount, a little bit of that thinking outside the box that we were hoping and praying that they would. Because this isn't a team that we've seen bring shields basically at all. We saw Nubs on Monty twice when they were on the attack. So you put Ghostly specifically, a name that we targeted pretty heavily besides Phil in the pre-show, on Clash. It's definitely a reason for that.
And maybe we'll get to see that in just a moment, as we do start to see that snowmobile push coming in from space, looking to push back of Wine Cellar. At the moment, they already have that wall open, and you already are starting to see it. Akron getting ready for that heavy hit that we know they love to do. The smoke preventing the line of sight onto Dining as they get this hatch ready. The Two-Brow, though, does stall that breach, which is huge.
Exactly.
Because again, one of the things that Columbia College has been banking on pretty heavily is trying to delay that time as much as humanly possible. And so far, they've been quite successful. 1 minute, 10 seconds. Two-Brow active. There's still another Two-Brow available to stall that hatch even further. And it's very clear at this point on the side of Columbia College that this is where the push is going to be. And so when you have to deal with this funnel, especially with a Clash on the board to slow it down even further, this is going to be pretty nasty for Akron Esports without some kind of pivot. And then you got the Goyo going off as well. This is just more slowdown after more slowdown. Now the fire's going out, gets a little bit.
He has nowhere to
big amount of
go.
damage on the Ghostly. Oh, completely trapped. Jet to confirm the kill. That could be the breaking moment for Columbia College. Losing that player as that push up begins. There it is. Start to run out. Space catches Phil. Bless taking Space. That's a refrag, but not for Bless, or Space gets yet another. Diffuser does go down. There's the push. Even when the time was low, Akron still finds a way with Columbia College now at a 2v3. And we see Soul getting caught out by a great hold coming in from Akron. Now going to be up to Nubs with 30 seconds remaining, but Jet still holding above from Hatch with even backup over in Dining. And Akron brings it now to match point.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't do this for no reason. I don't do it for gets and chicks. I do this for a reason. I told you plain and simple. I said Ghostly goes down. It's basically done. Ghostly was the focal point of that. You could argue that the Two-Brow was also just as important. He stalled time heavy, and stalling time and taking Akron's feet out from under them, taking their momentum from them by throwing them off their game and making them wait extra time is what you would expect to be done. And that's what CC tried their hardest to do. Tubarão, Goyo, Clash, we don't want you pushing into site. We don't want you taking top control. And what did they do? They waited the Tubarão out, and they still had everything left in their back pocket. They were there, they were waiting, they were ready. They took the Tubarão out. You saw how they strategically had a man placed at down in, I don't know the call out, I'm sorry, the door, the downstairs door right there by the wine wall. They had an attacker, I believe it was Lion, strategically placed right there. Ghostly Clash goes over that way. There's nowhere else for him to go. He's fired off everywhere else. Boom, there's an attacker there. He's going to get hit priority. He's going to kill you. You have to die to the fire now. That sacrifices your Tubarão. That doesn't give your Tubarão any extra help because the shield had been flamed off as well. Plant goes down. Tubarão goes down. Clash went down first. Match or a round over with. It's psychological at this point.
That pretty much made the round right there. That was the big buffer to slow any kind of movement down, to open up a clear line of sight vulnerability to take a shot. But when that was down, I mean, you clearly saw Therm walk in with pretty much no contest whatsoever. And that's that, you know, quickness that Akron does so well, and that Columbia College just hasn't really fought back against as far as counter offense, right? That's kind of the big thing that I was looking at, is how are they going to push against it? And they kind of didn't. And that's where I fear, praise, whatever your perspective is, that this is indeed going to be Akron's match. There has to just be a little more push against Akron. That's what I'm really looking for personally as a caster. But there's still an opportunity. It's never over until it's, you know, over, right? Actual game being done. But it does look like we're going to see a attempted walk up into double window. And wow, nice hold from Space, catching Soul. And that's the opening pick, allowing them to go for the plant. Very aggressive push in, perfectly timed. Ghostly does manage to catch Jet. Nubs getting Zoza down as well.
Whoa.
So that's 1-for-1. And now with the diffuser down, it's a 2v2. Nubs getting a nice shot from Connector as they do make it back onto site. But now here's the problem. Just getting that counter diffuse going. You've got Space on the repel, but you do have Bless walking up from above. That second
he heard him.
Nubs catches that repel player. That's big. Now it's this last repel player.
Oh!
No, Plexios does catch Nubs, and they have the thing on the last player above. It's 17 seconds. He has to go run out and push this, but he hops back in, and with such little time remaining, it's going to come down to baiting that swing of the gun, and you hear him trying to fake the fuser, waiting for the swing, but Plexio's not having it. Catches Bless out, and that's going to give Akron game 1.
Map 1 goes to Akron. We saw a 3-3 split in this, and then Akron took it the rest of the way. 7-3 on Chalet, our first map. Unbelievable effort from the entire team. We see really quickly there that Jet specifically was having a little bit of an off night on that one, I will say. You usually see a lot more from Jet and a little bit more of an entry-esque role, but he did play a little bit further back with his Twitch and whatnot that he is very well known for. And yeah, it was one of those things where you have so many gunners on this team, someone has to take at least a little bit of a step back. Plexos, one of the best supports, period. You didn't really expect too much from him, but at the end of the day, Akron Masterclass. This is 1 and 2, ladies and gentlemen. 2 being CC, of course, Akron being number 1. 7-3 for map 1 specifically, though, Piercing. What are your closing thoughts?
So my closing thoughts, honestly, I mean, Columbia College, they really held their ground on the attack quite well. I mean, a 3-3 split, that is nothing to scoff at. I mean, that's quite commendable, but it's just, it's the defense, man. Right? It's not like, you know, Akron was just kind of getting, you know, a lead. I mean, it's kind of expected they're going to, you know, play well in attack. No one's contesting that in any way, shape, or form. But the thing that was kind of important to me, right? There's this concept, and this is more for advanced Siege gameplay that I described, which is what I call the trap, right? When you start really getting good at your setups, you're able to tailor these situations where if you don't act against it, you just hold and react. That push has so much strength to it, no matter what the numbers are, as long as you're able to get it, you're not winning it, right? If you let attackers get their idealized setup, and that's how every attack should be. When you get your idealized attack set up and go for that kill, you're not going to win as defense. That's how this works in upper level. We can't think of this like T4 any longer because that kind of logic when it comes to set up and execute doesn't apply anymore. This is what Columbia College has to think about, and what they have to put up with is they got to put a bigger strain on Akron when it comes to that setup, because they can put in some damage and make things a lot more dicier when Akron's attacking if they do that. But that's the thing. If they do that, they have to disrupt the setup. The execute is way too powerful because Akron knows how to set things up when they're going for an execute, and they're way too tightly knit without some kind of detriment to that idealized plan, whether it is counter offense, whether it's holding from above. You have to have something. And right now, it's just more react rather than proactiveness. And so that's going to be the big thing that I'm going to look for as we move into map 2. But with that said, we're going to go on a quick break. So we'll be right back, and then we'll be heading into game 2.
Tap, tap, yeah, I want that. No lines, I don't cut back. Sweet, salty, and all that. Let loose, come get that. Can you play that back, back, back? Can you run that back, back, back? I'm trying to play that back, back, back. I want that. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Right here, can you feel? Let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Right here, can you feel that? Ooh, you feel that? Ooh, the real back. Ooh, I'm still that. Ooh, you catch that? Ooh, I guess that. The best back. Yeah, yeah. 30,000 up, I'm a pilot. Might jump out if I'm wildin'. Catch my flow, I'm so stylish. Tap, tap, real smooth. Can you play that back, back, back? Can you run that back, back, back? I'm trying to play that back, back, back. I want that. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Right here, can you feel? Let's go. I'ma give it all I got, can't quit, can't stop. I'ma be shut it down like this. You ain't coming to my house, you ain't about what I'm about. Taking nothing down. Defense wins games, whatever it takes. I bring it. Defense wins games, whatever it takes. I bring it. I'ma give it all I got, can't quit, can't stop. I'ma be shut it down like this. Defense wins games, whatever it takes. I bring it out. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, hope you took a little bit of a break. I myself use the restroom really badly. But yeah, we're back. And what we saw in map 1 as we quickly roll on to our map 1 recap was a little bit of a domination by Akron. It was a 3-3 split, and then Akron just took the rest of them. Phil having 3 kills, being the name that we were looking forward to heavily. Nubs having 11 highest on that team. And then, of course, I mean, I didn't expect it in the moment. I didn't know that it happened. But 19 kills on Space. Space had 19 kills.
Yeah, that is pretty impressive. I mean, obviously, we've seen, because I believe he got 1 ace, if I'm not mistaken. So that obviously is going to
Yes, he did.
pack the numbers pretty dang heavily. But I mean, if you look as well, +4 assists as well. I mean, at every pivotal moment when Akron was going for those plays, he was there either to sweep or at the very least give a further push to Akron to finish the job, which indeed they did.
Very true. That's very true. I believe we have a player to watch on this next map. Is that true? Yes, it is. It's Zosa again. Not surprised at all. Run us through what you're seeing here really quickly.
Yeah. And the thing that is kind of important to note, well, not so much on the stats from Zosa, though I will say the KD is quite a bit lower than what we saw for map 1 on Chalet, this being at 2.27, still very respectable. I mean, no one's going to question that, but I do believe Columbia College has not played this map, if I'm not mistaken. So
They have not played Clubhouse so
yeah.
far this season.
Yeah, so I mean, that's where things, with that additional information, this starts to, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on who you're rooting for, shift heavily. Columbia College needed to take that map in order to get their idealized situation, which is, of course, Cafe Dostoevsky. But now, with losing Chalet, they're going into, at least in terms of this league, uncharted territory, though I'm sure they've scrimmed it and played it aplenty. But either way, that still could potentially be a weakness, which makes winning Clubhouse more difficult than what it was on Chalet. So that's kind of where I get a little worried as far as the chances of getting to game 3. But we're on game 2, and we're now finally getting underway.
Very good point. It's a very good point. We are getting underway here. Map 2. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yes, no, I have a graphic that I can see. Look at that. Shout out Chef Chippy. Akron did indeed pick Clubhouse. So Akron picked Clubhouse. For what reason? It's probably because they are really good on this map. I believe they did have a Clubhouse match when they were qualifying for CL, and they won it like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong, but I think they won it either 7-2 or 7-3 over their opponents as they were getting ready to try to qualify for Challenger Series, Challenger League. So yeah, I mean, they picked this map for a reason. They beat Columbia on Columbia's map. It's not looking too heavy that will actually go to Cafe, but once again, anything is possible. We've seen routine bans so far. I would expect Azami, but since Columbia is defending first, Azami might not be the pick here. They might actually want to use that Azami. Blitz, Blackbeard, and Valkyrie, same three from Chalet. And we're going to see Azami anyway. They know how prominent Zosa specifically can be on the Azami, top garage rafters. We know it. We've seen it. Not just from Akron and CC, but from basically any team. You know, your local ranked team is probably going to run Azami top rafters in garage on Clubhouse. So yeah, very standard set of bans. Sorry to anyone who is expecting any different set of bans besides Blackbeard, Blitz, Azami, and Valkyrie. Unless we go to Cafe, those are the only bans we're seeing tonight. They actually translated from map 1.
And so, starting off with bedroom and gym, not surprised this is going to be a standard rotation, second floor, basement. Though, whether you pick gym or bedroom or basement first, I mean, pretty much much the same. Traditionally, defense, that's the gimme. The only thing I will say about the bans, where I would agree with you, I would have expected something a little bit different, especially on the fact that they're defending first, is just the fact that that's where they choked on map 1, right? They really struggled with Akron's onslaught. So having Azami on the board, yes, it makes their attack harder if they're going to be going from that garage push, but at the very least, you're in a much better situation when you're on your own defense and have a better chance to pick up some rounds there. Because, correct me if I'm mistaken, I might be. I don't think Columbia College won a single round. No, they didn't. They didn't win a single round when they were defending. And so now that we're on Akron's territory, I expect that to be even more so kind of the struggle there. Though it does look like we're going to see a long arm horizontal coming in from Akron Esports, starting off with Garage. Though you do have a player towards East Stairs on Columbia College looking to possibly meet that, as well as the CCTV presence. So this is going to be standard extension, which is what I'm trying to say, as far as going for the push and the defensive hold. But how well that holds and the time, that's what I'm kind of looking into, because this is the main thing that Columbia College was trying to do against Akron, was stall that time down. Though obviously when Akron gets their setup, no amount of time stalling is going to do you any good. And we do see that. Bless on the tuber route, trying to prevent those walls from getting open for as long as humanly possible, but inevitably with Ace, it's going to get open. We see they have that garage foul push as well. So it's just a matter of time before they collapse onto CCTV, and the blood of the second map unveils.
Base looking heavy here. He had some eyes outside for him, along with Plexos being in a little bit more of a frag type role instead of his usual specific support that he played, especially a last map. Plexos ends up proving it right there. Phil takes Jet down. Nubs is still being targeted. 4-4, Plexos takes Nubs out. He knew exactly where he was, along with Space taking Phil out. Zosa takes Soul out, caught him lacking, so to speak. Bless is in a great spot here, especially when it comes to Space. And Plexos, he ends up taking Space out. Oh, I can't yell. Jobu takes Bless out, though, and look at that. It's all up to Ghostly. Space probably going to be picked up, or else he will be the only other blood besides Jet here in this round for Columbia. Oh.
Yeah. There it is. As we kind of were expecting, Akron does pick up that first round pretty clean fashion. It's been pretty much a repeating trend at this point, kind of taking the attack round first. But, I mean, we got to talk about that CCTV and cash hold a little bit. I mean, there just wasn't quite the fallback or the support that was needed for Columbia College. They got pretty much routed entirely towards red stairs, and everyone towards cash was pretty much just done for. I mean, it's the same thing. Akron gets their setup, and it hurts a lot. If you're gonna try to stall for time, you want to have a exit strategy, and it seemed like Columbia wanted to play that to the death, but the blood was on their hands, not on Akron's.
Letting the defense play out here. Let's take a second and just watch how Columbia set this up. Just 1 second. Just watch this.
Oh, brother, a cap can. Yep.
Look at this setup. Now, I made you take a second without us yapping. Sorry about that if you love us. To pay attention to how they're setting this up. Look at this top take. Look at the fact that they have Ghostly by himself, and they have Souls, or Soul, saying Souls because I'm so used to watching Souls on FaZe. They left Soul in sight, and look at Ghostly. Ghostly is roaming top. He's in Logi, for crying out loud. They are trying something different. Will it work? I don't know, especially with that wall right there, the construction wall being wide open. You know, by that I mean not reinforced. And look at this Mira. They're trying their hardest to keep them from coming in and taking top when the bomb site is in the basement. I love what they're trying here, but will it work?
I've seen this strat before, and pretty much what it is a top-down, bullet-for-bullet match, right? So at no point does the attackers know any piece as they're constantly getting contested, which is a huge time waster, which is exactly what Columbia College's strategy is, and it's a good one if that's the mindset you're trying to go for. Though, I feel like at Akron's caliber, they likely have some level of familiarity and know about this, and know that main stairs fallback is going to be the big struggle point here. Though you do have one who's already fallen back, though looking to walk back up, that's going to be Bless towards main stairs. Phil going to go down. The flash goes out. Ghostly getting eliminated as well. That's going to be thanks to Plexios. And already, before the fallback truly begins, we're already seeing a 2-player down count with 1 minute and 23 seconds. But the important thing to keep in mind is that this has detracted a lot of time for setup from Akron. And you still have another player on main, and that's going to be Bless. So having all of that opportunity to disrupt is quite significantly. And here, I love how Bless is not getting too greedy here, is just waiting for that perfect opportunity. And there it is. Oh, but looks away at the last second. Seeds timing. No. Phil still down. Nubs and Soul, the last two remaining against a full stack. And now they're getting their setup going. They have that full vertical established. Soul going down. That's going to be thanks to Space. Now putting it to a 1v5 as the kill on Phil is finally confirmed due to that DBNO timer. With 38 seconds to go, they're going to have to drop down eventually. Though Nubs does get Space in the back. The Candelas goes through. Nubs completely blind here. Zoza now getting started on that diffuser. Going to have to try to take another before this diffuse goes down. But that's not going to happen. Making this a 1v4 post-plant situation. Does have to take this corner swing, which is quite risky as Plexios holds it from above to finish him off.
Yeah, I mean, you played that perfectly. You put them where you put your pieces where they needed to be. You know, it's like Akron is playing a game of chess right now, and you might not think of it in that way, but they're doing everything correctly. You put Plexos on Ash for a reason. You had the Ram for a reason. You planted where you did to avoid the Goyos. I mean, they're literally running circles mentally. Running circles around Columbia College. It's Akron. They're on Clubhouse, their map. They're on attack first. They're very prominent on their attacks. What specifically would Columbia College have even expected coming from this? Besides the fact that it's 2-0, and besides Akron is just, they're being Akron right now.
As far as what they can expect, I mean, yeah, you pretty much put it bluntly what kind of the main factors are, but I really do think they just need to drop this time stalling strat. It's not working. I truly do believe that Columbia College can rack up rounds on defense, but they have to get rid of this time delay mantra. That's kind of been what they're doing. They're playing it to the death against Akron, and because of how tight-knit they are on their crossfires, making sure no one gets out alive, even if they're not intending it to be a fight to the death, that's unfortunately for Columbia College what it's becoming. So really what it comes down to, and I like the fact they're not trying to do that full, third floor or second floor down extension like we saw before. And so we could possibly see a change, but they got to stop the time delaying all that tricks that they've been trying to do to just slow down Akron, because it doesn't matter whether it's a minute 30 or 30 seconds. They get a favorable outcome, they're gonna just send it, and that's where it's pretty much game over for Columbia College. They've got to put the pedal to the metal in stomping out Akron and having a tight-knit roam, and it does look like we could be potentially seeing steps in that direction.
We could be, but look at the way that they're attacking this. They're attacking it a little bit more prominently than they did last round. They went back to the same bomb site, so it's a little bit more of, okay, let's try to negate all the excess damage that was caused. Let's try to keep a little bit more tighter of a knit team here within this specific take. How is this one going to differ from the last one? They're trying their hardest to make it a little different here, but I do love the defense take and hold so far from Columbia College.
Honestly, I think that's where I might have to disagree with you. If you look at Columbia College, they're mostly, if not entirely, anchored, which, yes, that is kind of the standard play, but when you have Akron getting so much setup here, that really doesn't work, because you have to get something out of the fact that they're getting this much setup with a minute and 25 seconds remaining. That's a lot to work with here. Though I do like the composition with Nubs on the smoke. You got Goyo and Warden, but again, it just screams to me stall time, just in a different way. I can't get along with it. It hasn't been working. Akron is seeing this and is dissecting it accordingly. Though there is no twitch in Akron's composition, so no bursting Goyos early or anything like that. It is a force they still will have to reckon with, but they've done a good job dealing with it in the past, and I don't think this is going to be any differently here. And so that's where this anchor hold really freaks me out. The time is in their favor. The setup is in their favor. It's really just a matter of them pushing back. And we do see Soul attempt that, but Plexios is ready with a great hold towards main stairs. We got to catch that. Ooh, but the walk down coming in from Bless, holding all the way up top in main stairs the entire time. That's a critical position. That's going to cause some displacement here with 28 seconds to go. And that right there, I think, could make the difference here. Phil going to be taking a good deal of damage, but still holding out towards Armory. Does manage to catch space. That's going to be big. Jobu takes Bless down. It's 3-3. Phil now down, but not out. With 15 seconds to go, gonna have to get this plant down soon. Nitro still on the board. Ghostly catching Zoza. This is looking very doable for Columbia College with 5 seconds on the clock. Looking for one, can't find any, but does look like they're gonna try to target Nubs, but he catches Jobu out. Columbia College to take their first round. That's what I'm talking about when I say counter offense.
Yeah, I mean, I loved what I saw out of the hold for a reason. I like the fact that they had a lurker. I like the fact that they were all in sight, but not in sight at the same time. I don't do this for no reason. I like the way that you did disagree, though, because the attack was going the way of Akron, and that's what Columbia wanted them to think. They fooled us, they fooled Akron, and it fooled them into a round victory. They had the lurker. They realized that Akron they're efficient with their droning, but they don't drone every single nook and cranny corner. They can't. They don't have enough time. So, of course, that leads to the lurker that we had. It was the Goyo coming down. And then he really just stole the power position away from Akron in a way where he could go wherever and do whatever, and any attacker he saw, ACOG on their head. It ended up working out very well, and I liked the original hold for a completely different reason, but they showed their flexibility, and they showed the way that they were able to conform to the round and what was happening. They knew they had someone in dirt. You place someone in a very well placed spot to take dirt out. That was behind the broken mirror in blue. There was no way the dirt player was winning that. It was the Capital. He had already ran all his fires out. He knew he was there. He wasn't going to win it, and he did it. And then, of course, the person in blue ends up being able to swing the doorway or the hole either way, depending on where you might have thought that they were. He swung the door, he got the win.
Yeah, and that is such an interesting angle that I hadn't quite considered. And I will say that really does bode for a good fighting chance for Columbia College, honestly. If they can kind of replicate that ability, right? To have one person who's offside, one rogue element, no matter how big or small, that can disrupt this ideal take that Akron banks on so heavily to punish that. I mean, yeah, that's if you're gonna play time like that, that's the way to do it. And you're 100% right. Just clearing out every nook and cranny like that in Clubhouse typically isn't very feasible because of how much can be held up on that setup. Though I do fear that there might be ample time for Akron to get that full la-di-da-di everybody full building clear just because there wasn't enough pressure on the setup directly from the anchors. But other than that, I do see that very much as being viable. But in any case, looking into this round, we're seeing very minimal to no contact. Jack has taken just a little bit of damage, but here's where things got scary from Gym and Bedroom last time. Once again, we've got a very solid hold coming in from Columbia College towards Cash. You have one on red, that's Phil, and then another in Cash, that's Nubs. And so what I'm looking for, and with that hold coming out from Zoza, unless someone tries to go for a run out or something really bold like that, there really is no fallback for Nubs. This is going to be a fight for the death. And with Phil going down thanks to Plexios, that's exactly what it's going to be. You have Nubs with a shotgun, completely stuck in a corner, though Nubs does manage to take Plexios, and that is a big disruption as far as roam clear potential. Lurking now back on the table in full swing, but Nubs still has enough help. Battle manages to take space, does push back into CCT, but does get caught out by Jet, and Zoza manages to secure a double kill, and that is a collapse into construction, which is going to put Ghostly as the last person alive. All of that potential, unfortunately, squandered.
The attack of Akron just knows how to suck the life out of any potential round win. The placement is just off the wall, off the chain. They're just so good at the way that, of course, they place their people. What a nice kill from Ghostly there, though. They know how to refrag, they know how to fight back, and they know how to use the information that was given to them. Look at that. Ghostly just got droned out. You've got a pretty good idea that he's going back around the other way, and that's exactly what happens. The drone work, the placement. Why would you even repeat that? I don't know. But either way, they know how to just literally suck the life out of a defense. And no matter how prominent Columbia has looked, Akron just keeps coming back and back and back for more and more and more. Cut off one head, two of them are going to regrow. Akron are still looking super, super good so far within this map.
Well, and the thing that was particularly a struggle point for Columbia College was Zoza. That hold outside on the balcony, that was a really strong position that it looked like they didn't really factor in, and that put Nubs and Phil in a really bad spot as they didn't have a fallback. And again, you know, it's that initiative. All it would have taken was a run out or just swinging onto Zoza, taking him out, and that whole story would have flipped. But for him to be able to take that double kill there onto that balcony, this is the holds that Akron does so well that can really put Columbia College on the spot. Whether it was falling back when that window got opened or just getting rid of him altogether, either one of those could have made for a better outcome. Again, Columbia College, they have that capability. They have that potential. It's been shown. They won, not last round, the round prior. They just have to create an environment where they can do that lurk again. And it wasn't really there as they kind of committed to that CCTV cash hold to a dangerous level. But now looking into this next round, and it does look like they're going to be playing off of CCTV and cash. What do you think about this site pick? I would say this is pretty spicy because of the fact that there's not as much potential to kind of, you know, run around when you have that site, which is so easy to just walk into, you know?
That's why you're so used to seeing a CC hold from at least two members of the defense while the bomb site is in bedroom. Now we're seeing two members of the defense, or at least one for now, in bedroom holding. and along with, of course, Kuzi Wall being opened up here, you don't have as much room to stretch your legs when you're playing this site. It's not a site that you see too many pro teams or even teams at this level go to. Akron kind of went to this site just because they had to, and or not Akron, Columbia kind of went to the site just because they had to, as Space opens it up but gets opened up himself by Bless. And yeah, I mean, it's just not necessarily what you usually see. Bless was over there with Phil, actually, so yes, there were 2 people playing in bedroom. And, you know, it's a typical take. You don't really have as much room to spread your legs out as usual, though. What a swing from Plexos. He's getting a little greedy here, and he gets one anyway. Zosa gets it with him because you got to know how to work in pairs. Something that the Akron attack does so well. Working in pairs, working in threes even, making sure that the refrag is always there. Plexos could not re-peek that. He knew he wasn't going to win it. But, you know, Bless did not know that Zosa was with him. He should have had a pretty good idea with the big thermite hole in the wall. But, again, anything is possible. Jet now helping Zosa with the wall now. And now Zosa was there to capitalize off of Jet's wall denial. Well, wall opening, hard breaching, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, the thing that really kind of tipped me the wrong way was not falling back from bedroom. Taking space, reclaiming all of that territory that Akron had gained thanks to her push was big. But overstaying that is pretty much what started to make this a problem. Now you have Zosa, who's already on site. Plexio's catching Soul. The collapse already starting. That position offset's going to be too much for Columbia as Akron sweeps it out again. They see an opportunity, and they take it. And indeed they did, giving them now a sustained lead going into the second half with 1 more round still to go.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking so much about how Akron is so, you know, well balanced with the, you know, making sure, you know, you've got certain people here and certain people there. But at the exact same time, we were talking heavily about there's not very many places that you can go and spread your legs out on, you know, when you play the CC site specifically. But in my opinion, you don't necessarily see it happen that as much on purpose because of what just happened right there. You had 2 members of the attacking team in sight, walls open and everything, and we still had like a minute left. You stretched your legs too thin right then. Columbia College was trying something a little different, a little bit more outside of the box, so to speak, like we were trying to get them to, and it really hurt them. You don't usually see the legs be spread as much on the CC site specifically for a reason, and they just proved why you probably shouldn't when you go CC. You should maybe try a little bit more of a, I'm tucked in this corner with a shotgun. I'm tucked top red with a shotgun. Instead, they spread their numbers too thin. Too many people were allowed to do too much on the side of Akron, and it gave them the early advantage. It ultimately gave them the round advantage.
Right. Though I will admit, I do like entertaining the idea of playing around bedroom. Because once they get that jacuzzi wall open, they didn't have anyone repelled on main stairs. Why not just fall back to the bottom of main stairs? You have a nitro in hand, you can hold out towards bar, and once they start making that push forward, nuke them with a nitro. You know what I mean? You take one right then and there. But either way, that was not the evolutionary direction of that hold that Columbia College took. But I do like the idea. I do like the potential for that. But going forward, it does look like we are going to see Columbia College go for a full anchor heavy composition like we did before. That vertical extension that they tried to run, that is now permanently a thing of the past. Tried it once. So, with that being said, now it comes down to who the lurker is going to be and where will they strike. And it does look like Akron is doing a pretty firm top down at the moment. Not a lot of room for a would-be lurker to have been found. So Akron pretty much knows this entire second and first floor is in the clear. So they're going to have to try to find a walk-up opportunity space. Looking to try to get a bit active there towards east stairs. Does take a significant amount of damage in turn, though able to just simply walk away. And you do have a little bit of pressure towards main stairs. It looks like that's going to be coming in from Nubs, trying to find someone. Oh, the feet shots. Zosa catches Nubs. playing it a little bit too much on the nose towards main stairs. That's going to be your smoke down. That's a lot of delay potential now out the window. And with a minute and 15 seconds, this is what's going to make a situation from rough to dire. Does get a good amount of damage on Zosa, trying to get that wall breach going. Not successful. Minute on the clock, a player advantage, and no lurkers to be found.
They're not playing to their strengths. Maybe they felt as though they didn't need to, and they might not. You never really know. Ghostly with a nasty shot onto Zosa. Plexos gets it right back, though. Bliss off the board. And just like that, Jet goes off the board. You saw Jet fall there. Space and Plexos make it a 3v1, but they both go down. It's 1-1. Phil versus Jobu. Jobu has the case. It's not down yet. 30 seconds left. Phil is also Warden. Jobu has no utility here. It's a waiting game.
Yeah.
Jobu had to push him, and he did! What a headshot! Jobu proving that Akron are no slouches. This is their map. They're on attack. The chips did not fall properly for them right then, but it's a 5-1 half.
Yeah, I mean, you're missing that key element, like you said, that lurker. We saw how much damage that could do to the idealized attacks that Akron's so dangerous on. But I mean, you got to give props to Akron, despite a one-round setback, losing one round to Columbia College, which did come from a pretty big change in their stall strats. Instead of just kind of hunkering it down, reacting, they had a lurker just sitting in the outskirts, and they adapted that pretty well. And the thing is, the consistency, that's what I have to give massive respects to. Irregardless of how Columbia College tried to set up their defense, Akron always had a pretty much tightly sealed, tightly knit way to ensure that their execute was going to go exactly how they intended. Hi, Cade. To Poppy.
Say hello to Jet.
Yeah. But I just love that tight-knitness, that ability to consistently output. Even if the results may not be the same, just the way they're able to hold their crosses, get their setup. They know exactly what they want, and they get it nearly every time. This is where team synergy is so huge, and Akron is truly showing that in its greatest fashion.
They are. They really are. And it's more about making sure that you continue to stay true to what you know. Plexos takes Phil out. He knew what he was doing. The LMAOs in chat, he knew he was going to face hug that barricade. And at the very least, it's coincidence. But yeah, not what you want to see. Your Ram is off the board. I believe she still had one in pocket. Phil goes down early at the hands of Plexos. And yeah, this is already not looking the best for Columbia College.
Yeah, and I mean, you still have your soft breach charges from Bless and Nub, so it's not like you're just completely out of vertical options. But either way, you're not going to get as much coverage, and it's not going to be as fast. So that does make things a lot trickier for Columbia College starting out on their attack. And like you said, yeah, that wallbang was certainly very unfortunate. Though it does look like Akron is going to commit to hunkering this thing down fully and entirely. Though I'm not too sure how I feel about the can on the hatch when you still have Soul with those Hibana charges. Mainly just, if you get all the hatches, however you got to do it, that's however you got to do it. But if you're not getting all the hatches, especially kitchen hatch, that's where things start to become more turbulent, to put it lightly. Though there's still plenty of time. Hibana's still got plenty of charges. But yeah, at the moment, basically no contact whatsoever other than that initial pick from Akron. And I mean, why wouldn't you fall back and fully hunker down after that? I mean, you took out Ram. That's a R4C off the table. That's a lot of utility off the table, which is going to slow things down. And we still aren't seeing much, if any, vertical play coming from Columbia College at the moment. Nubs goes down. That's going to be to a shotgun blast to the chest coming in from Zosa, who's been doing quite well with a 6 and 2. 40 seconds remaining. You now see the walk up from Bless. I feel like this is going to be a little bit dicey, risky. All it takes is one peek, and you're caught out in the open with no way to fall back. 30 seconds on the clock, too. Whatever options Columbia College pursues, they're going to be heavily funneled. Runs right into Blast.
Oh
Why
my
are you
God.
sprinting? Takes another delayed refrag. 2 staggered. Ghostly now the last alive. Gets a little bit of damage onto, I believe that was either Space or Jobu. But now walked up onto these stairs. That's Jobu. Now going to be getting jiggy with it, trying to go for the swing onto Ghostly. And with 3 seconds left on the clock, there's not a lot you can do with Zosa wrapping around all the way from Maine for a flawless round.
Zosa flawless on their first defense. Of course, Zosa and flawless have no, correlation because it definitely wasn't an ace. But flawless round meaning that their first defense on their map, they didn't lose a single body. So it proves that, Akron's here to play. They're here to stay. They're here to show you all why they're number one. They're here to show you all why they are the most talked about collegiate team possibly ever. And yeah, 6-1 right now. Columbia not looking good at all. It's going to take some sort of voodoo miracle for them to come back in this one. They have already dropped map 1. You didn't happen to catch that. 7-3 Akron. That was Columbia's map. We're now on map 2, Akron's map. Akron is up 6-1 right now. If somehow, some way, I see the most miraculous comeback I've ever seen in my life, we'll be going to Cafe after this.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the dream, wouldn't it? But yeah, unfortunately, we got to dance to the reality. Columbia College, they don't have a buffer. I mean, they didn't really have much of one going into the second half. And it's been rough, to put it lightly. I mean, basement, you should have a pretty standard setup, and it just seemed like Columbia College didn't really get it. And when you are in a situation where everyone's anchoring and you aren't able to do that, unfortunately, that really does spell doom and gloom for Columbia College. I mean, the run on Chalet, I would say, was pretty good. The defense was rough, but it was even rougher on Clubhouse on Akron's pick. And so now we're going to have to see something bold here. But I do wonder if they can sustain whatever bold plays they try to go for.
We don't know. We don't know. We haven't seen Columbia College on Clubhouse so far this season here in Midwest, and this is just their second attack. And it's already proving to be dividends for Akron. Now, Nubs is pulling out the shield again. It's a little bit more of a standard type take for this team. We saw it a lot last map on Chalet. We saw Nubs on Monty specifically for this Columbia College attacking team. But at the end of the day, it didn't really give them too many, good results, too many extra results. So we'll have to see Nubs being the walking drone that he can be may actually help Ghostly down the line here. Anything is possible, though.
What I do find interesting is how fast Akron has been to fall back out of cash and construction, which is definitely a boon to Columbia College. Though with 2 nitros on the board, I have to wonder how big of a boon that really is and whether or not that's just going to be kind of a choke point having to deal with 2 nitros like that pushing through construction. Because it's one thing to take cash and CCTV, but it's a whole other thing to get construction. Nub's going to take significant amount of damage. If he goes down 1 nitro off the board, that's going to prove problematic as we see Plexios in space take Bliss and Phil, and it's a full sweep from Akron, just crushing them out on construction. Counter offense, I keep saying it, it's important, and Akron did it, and there you go.
Akron did it. It's exactly what we expected. We had a pretty good idea that was going to be what goes down. And, yeah, I mean, that's exactly what ended up happening. Look at that. Space ended with 8. What's 19 plus 8? So that's 19, 20, 21, 27. He had 27 kills through 2 maps. But Akron's not that good. Okay. All right.
Don't know where that's coming from. It certainly ain't coming from me.
Nope.
But either which way, yeah, I mean, yes, by the books, everyone was expecting this outcome. But I really was anticipating Columbia College really being able to kind of pick up there. But I feel like the struggle on defense is really what killed the potential.
They kept slipping.
You know, Columbia College, they play so well, but at some point, you have to acknowledge the danger of attack. The hardest part of attacking is getting to the point where you can execute. That's
Yep.
always where the struggle is. But once you're good enough at attacking, the setup, the execution, that's not really the hard part anymore. That's team dynamics, that's coordination, that's attack strats. That's what it really comes down to. But getting to that point is the hard part. And I feel like Columbia College just didn't capitalize on that. I mean, by the books, they played it well. Like, I'm not going to say that they were doing something wrong. No, it's just there just wasn't the respect needed for what you have to do on defense against an actual attack team. A lot of defense is kind of taken for granted because teams don't generally know how to attack all that well. But when that assumption is out the window, you can't just play off of reacting. That simply is not a game plan. That's just asking to get kicked in the gut and kicked in the groin over and over and over again with no way to pretty much stop it, And that's kind of where Columbia College fell. It wasn't so much their attack. Yes, their attack went rough on Clubhouse, but it was really their defense. How much more can you really put it? But still, both insanely good teams. Talented stat lines. I really wouldn't say this matchup really pins Columbia College in any negative way. They still very much deserve their second place seeding, 100%. It's just Akron, obviously from how they've done in CL Quals, is just a totally different beast.
Yeah, they said it best themselves to me earlier today. They're locked, and they proved it. I feel like CC just kept slipping and slipping and slipping till they finally fell at the hands of Akron. And speaking of at the hands of Akron, we will have a post-match interview for you where we'll be interviewing one of the Akron players. Haven't gotten a word on who it is yet, but stick around after the break, the short break that we're about to have, where we have a chance to get them in here. We'll get them to answer some of our questions. Maybe it's some questions that you guys had as well on your minds. Stick around after this quick little break for a exclusive Midwest R6 interview with an Akron player. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Ace of Toronto, Piercing, you just heard us live calling this great match between Akron and CC. Now, speaking of Akron, we have Plexos here live and in the flesh. I was talking to him earlier in the day. He said Akron was locked, and he kind of proved it. I got a quick question for you, Plex, before I let Piercing take the role for a little while with his two. I do want to ask you, how did it feel coming into this, knowing how good you have done ever since the Utah game? Were you a little scared? Not necessarily scared. That's definitely not the right word to use. Were you a little concerned, so to speak, with how CC had been playing, how they were down and looking to project a little bit more upward going into this match versus how good you guys have been doing?
Definitely a little bit, but what I'll say is that Utah game was like a wake-up call for us. We've played 15 times better since then. We were kind of in the mindset that game, like, we'll just show up and play. It doesn't really matter. But after that, we realized, like, we need to have the foundation to be better because we are better. So now that, the foundational stuff is there and we can just play the game instead of, okay, guys, what the hell are we doing this round? That's helped a lot. But we definitely knew Columbia would be tough, but we were very, very confident that we would win.
Yeah, I mean, CC being number 2 right behind you guys in Midwest, y'all are undefeated. They only had 1 loss. Now they have 2, and you guys are still undefeated. My co-caster here, Piercing, has a few for you before he throws it back to me.
Yeah, so one of the things that I noticed, and this is quite persistent and self-evident, your greatest strength by far that I see with Akron, you guys, is your counter offense and your near perfect executions. I mean, they're so strong. What are some insights that you have on how those plays go down? Are they kind of more on the fly, or do you kind of have almost like a preset of what that looks like before it actually happens?
There's definitely always some level of adaptation, but we kind of have this thing where for every site, going into the round, we know, okay, what is our goal at the start of the round to execute, and where are the 3 positions, let's say we're in a 3v3, whatever, what are the 3 spots we need to have to win the round? So let's say it's a church downstairs for Clubhouse. We need someone on the hatch. We need someone dropping the hatch. We need someone holding either the hallway from bottom main or on the hatch, just so that, there's a foundation, like I said earlier. We can change things as it goes, but that way it's not like there's 30 seconds left. What are we doing? We all know exactly what we need to be doing.
So you have predefined power positions you hold. That makes a lot of sense, actually. That's really smart. Yeah. So, and this is the other thing I was kind of curious about, because this was kind of tipping me off initially, like, holy crap, this could actually be a close game, and then it didn't. What was going on in the defense in Chalet? That was where you lost the most rounds of this entire matchup, 3 rounds. What was kind of the story on that?
I think we were just not really playing our game. You could kind of see, at least for me, we were just not scared is the right word, but just kind of letting them set the pace. And not an excuse, but half our team had 110 ping the first 3 rounds. I have no idea why, but once we kind of realized, we had a talk after the timeout. We were like, we just need to play our game, be persistent, be intense. And after the switch, the game never really fell back in their hands.
Yeah, I mean, you guys
we can feel that intensity.
Yeah, you guys were letting it hang for sure. One last thing before we let you speak a little bit on your own there, Plexos, and get out of here. I had one last quick question for you, and it is more along the lines of, how do you feel? And it's a little bit more of a defensive-sided question, because I talked so heavy during the cast. I talk heavy about it basically everywhere I go whenever R6, comes up and Akron is involved. You guys are just one of the best attacking teams, period, that I've ever seen. But when it comes to the defense, I kind of want to bounce off of a Pearson question earlier. How do you feel going into defense on certain maps, whether it be a map that you're not as well versed on versus a map that you are, ready to go on, like Clubhouse? What is your insight going into certain defenses where you might not be as, well versed, as ready for it? Not necessarily about playing your game, so to speak, but a map that you're just not as, well tuned on defense specifically.
Yeah, I actually think it's something every single team, no matter how good you are, can apply, is just what are the important parts of this map and make them work for it, right? A lot of teams like to just sit in sight and let the attackers play the game. That's not how you win defenses. You gotta press them at the entry points, make them work for everything, cause uncertainty, just play together. We call people out. It's like, how can all 5 of us kill this guy together? Not, we have 3 dudes in sight, 2 roaming, right? Like the Chalet 1 defense, for example, Space and I were in kitchen and dining, and instead of just sitting there and fighting, Rowan walks up West Main Stairs as Mira and helps us. Just stuff like that, playing the whole map, playing all 5 together, and not 5 different people playing ranked, basically.
And really quickly, how did you feel going into the clubhouse defenses? Even though you were up, did you feel any different going into those?
We were very confident. Like I said, I think the start of Chalet, we were just a little shaky. So once we had realized, like, okay, we are the better team, we just need to play our game. And clubhouse defense too, you have to make them work for things. The nice thing with Chalet on attack is the utility usage is bare minimum. It's get on the cuts, push them into the cuts, and you can see those first couple rounds. I think the first round of the game, Nubs got 3 kills sitting on highway balcony. So once we got on that defense and we knew we had to make them work for stuff, like they never even opened kitchen hatch, the basement defense. We just took advantageous fights because they weren't opening the right stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best yourself. Well, one last thing before we go. It's not necessarily a question. Plexos, on behalf of Akron and yourself, are there any shout outs that you would like to give with the Midwest R6 community and staff watching?
I just want to shout out the guys here for giving me this opportunity. I mean, this has been life changing, honestly, not just in terms of getting to play with a great team and it being amazing, but also the fact that we made T2. I mean, that's been a dream of mine for a long time. So just the opportunity that they gave me here and the fact that I get to play with 5 like-minded guys who all want to win as bad as me, and I'll put in the same effort as me, it's been an amazing experience. And I cannot wait for playoffs for all these leagues.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are ballers, plain and simple. I love being able to chop it up back and forth between you two. You know, here at Midwest and in other places, you know, we're all people at the end of the day. Akron, with how big you guys are, being able to actually chat with you guys, you know, in certain chats and whatnot, it really opens things up. Like you said it best yourself. We're all privileged in a certain way, and you guys specifically are on the absolute top of your game right now. Us at Midwest and in every other league that you've got playoffs coming up for, we wish you absolutely nothing but the best going into T2 in your pro league and whatnot. But yeah, when it comes to Midwest here on a Thursday night, we love having you guys here. We love being able to talk with you guys and cast you guys because who knows, y'all could blow up to a point where y'all don't want to be in Midwest anymore. we expect nothing but greatness from how good you guys have been. And yeah, when it comes to a random Thursday night in Midwest, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for our regular season. Shout out to Akron winning 2-0 in our best of 3 against Columbia College. Shout out to Plex, of course, for taking a little bit of his time out post-match and talking with us. My name has been Ace of Toronto. That has been Piercing. And, of course, in between us, Plexos from the winning team of Akron. Akron took it 2-0 against CC. We'll see you here next week for playoffs.